podcasting will be a thrill. Grandpa and chill, grandson and friends. Grandpa and chill in full effect. We talk about it all, yeah, put it all on the set with that pet craze too. We chillin' with Rosie, come through, stay tuned, yeah, listen closely. Cause this the millennials and the silent generation coming together, discussion in rotation. This is Grandpa and Chill.
Try and repeat that beautiful intro you did, Phines.
Welcome to Grandpa and Chill. I am Phines. This is a podcast with Grandpa and his grandson, Brandon Fox, our host with the mostest, and our producer, Sierra, and their other host, Phines. Today we have guest on Jennifer. Jennifer, please introduce yourself. How are you?
You afraid to say my last name?
Oh yeah, I was. I was like,
Jennifer Manocherian. I'm sorry. I gotta just take a sip
it's okay.
There we go.
of water.
Oh,
What would you like to
welcome.
know? Just
I something very exciting for me was when I came across your profile that you had written a book with a 95-year-old protagonist, right?
mhm. That
And on our
excited you?
Yeah. Have you not heard that a lot?
Well, it's funny. I have a bunch of grandchildren. One of my grandsons said, "Oh my God, you better not lead with something like that, or nobody will want to read it."
That's hilarious. How old's your grandson?
Oh my God, he's 33.
Oh,
I got a range of them, down
yeah.
to 5.
Why do you think he said that?
Well, because he didn't think, well, certainly he wasn't very interested in reading about an old lady. But it's not just about the old lady. It's about many people in her life. The youngest is in the 20s, so it's not all, it's all different points of view. So it's different points of view of different ages, different backgrounds, all sorts of things.
Yeah, I say bah humbug. Let's make him want to read about a 95-year-old's perspective.
Well, good luck.
We got it.
Yeah, I feel like so you didn't write this book until after you're already a grandparent, and this is your first book ever, right?
Not only, I've been a grandmother for 33 years. So, no.
Wow.
So it took a long time to write. Well, I didn't write this book because I never thought I'd write a book. So it was just something that I decided to do at a later stage in life. But it was, COVID made it possible, actually, because, we were all stuck at home for a period of maybe 3 years, 2 to 3 years. Offices closed. I mean, everything shut down. I live in New York, so, and I was in theater at the time, a theater producer. And so theater shut down. My office shut down. The governor closed every office that wasn't essential. So my life changed, and I used the time to do several things that I'd been wanting to do for a while. And this was something, it just gave me the time to do it. I would have never found time to do it otherwise.
Was it a dream?
Because
like since you were little, you always wanted to write a book?
No, I didn't always want to write a book. I never thought I would write a book. I didn't think I had the ability. I mean, I'm a reader. I read a lot. And my whole family, we're all readers. It's something I've grown up with, and it's like I'm carrying on a family tradition. My mother and father both tried to write the great American novel when they were in their 30s, that it would be so successful, it would free them to live the kind of more artistic life they wanted to, but instead didn't happen. And my father spent the rest of his life being a patent attorney. And my mother turned to different writing, but it was never a novel. And so it was something that, it's funny, it was just kind of hung around in my family, the idea that somebody would write a novel. And, well, I'm not the first one to write a novel. And I'm the first one to write a novel and get it out into the world.
Wow, I like it.
Thank you. As my daughter said at an introduction for something recently, my mother's a late bloomer. She didn't write her first novel until she was in her 80s.
I think your parents would be proud.
Did you sort of go into the arts or pursue creative passion so heavily because both of your parents had wanted to and then didn't really follow through?
No, I don't. I don't think I was, living their dream or anything. But they were.
Mm.
My parents were interesting. They didn't really. We lived in a very I don't mean conservative the way people think of it today, but kind of a suburban community that was kind of old, very, what am I going to say, very waspy community. And, and my parents somehow we were always a little bit outside of it. My father was English, which, believe it or not, even though it's the same language, it's a different culture. And so in that sense, we were a little bit outsiders. And then my parents had friends who were in the arts, and that always intrigued me. So I think it was like a stardust I had from an early age. In fact, one of my closest friends, who's unfortunately no longer alive, but her father was a movie actor, and that really impressed me. His name was George Macready. He was in a couple of very iconic films. One was Paths of Glory. Another one was Gilda with Rita Hayworth. I mean, you guys probably are too young to know about those films. But he was also in a TV series called Peyton Place, where he played Father Peyton. So there was, there was something about the art, the world of the entertainment that just kind of, I guess, lifted me out of where I was in a way. It was very, very vicarious, but it always intrigued me.
What did you do in the theaters? I'm sorry.
Well, I was a theater producer, and I mean, I don't know, I have a toenail still in the game. I don't know if things come to me, and I don't know that I would always say no, but it's just my focus is right now on. Well, I want to write a second novel, and many people have said, "Well, this novel should be a movie." Well, I don't know if it'll be a movie, but I have a film that I wrote and co-produced, and actually today I've got the final cut, which I haven't even had a chance to see. I don't know. I definitely want to see it with all the sound, the music, the everything in it. So, and we're entering it into festivals, so hopefully that'll happen next year. But
That's exciting.
yeah, yeah, it is. But it's premature to talk about that. But I've forgotten even where the where I went wandering with your question.
I was asking, what did you do in theater? Like you said, you came from theater before COVID closed
Yeah,
everything down. I was wondering what you were
yeah.
doing
Well,
exactly.
I had two hats. One was as a producer, where I was involved in many shows. You've heard of Stomp, I'm sure. I was one of the many producers of Stomp, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. It's closed in New York, but it's still playing around the country. And
Mm.
I've done a lot. I've done well over 30 shows, both on and off Broadway. So
Wow.
yeah, but but producing in theater is not what it was when I got into it. It was much more hands-on at the time I got involved. There weren't like a million producers on shows. Nowadays, if you look at the billing on any show, or if you watch the Tony Awards or something, you'll see like half of New York City up on stage. It's it's a very different ball game, and the more people there are, the less involvement there is. So I started moonlighting, shall we say. I wrote the book of a couple of musicals, um, which has been fun. One of them is called Cockroaches in Cologne. It's on YouTube, and that was just a 15-minute musical that I work with the same composer team, Dan Martin and Michael Biello, and we have a lot of fun. And that was done during COVID, which was quite an experience. And it's done really well, actually. It's all over the place in festivals. Um, and wrote another musical that was in a few regional productions, and then we filmed it for streaming. So that just before COVID. Boy, we just barely made it. And in fact, after we had done it and COVID came, the musicians had to record it all separately in their own homes. It was changed the whole nature of how you do things once COVID hit in terms of theater. So I just got more and more involved creatively as I got less and less involved creatively in theater. So it's been kind of a crossover. Although I've been writing for a long time. I mean, there's a movie that my son and I wrote in the '90s, which was still on Amazon Prime Video. It's called Family Blues, and that was quite an experience producing a movie. I thought I was going to die actually, of exhaustion.
With your son, right?
Yeah, we wrote it together, but then he didn't want to get involved in the producing. I mean, it was great. I loved doing it. It was just very tiring because it was just crazy hours. And I just produced this other movie that we just did, which was filmed in Minnesota. It wasn't nearly as tiring for me personally, but it was an incredible learning experience. I learned much more than I did the first time around, and I'm still learning. It's been quite a year for me between the book and the movie and learning how to. I thought I just wrote a book. I didn't know I had to market it, and
Yeah.
I didn't know I had to sell myself.
That's funny. Is that what you're learning this time around, or
Yeah,
uh,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm part of a writing group, and all of the people I write with, they kept saying, "You got to get on social media. You got to start selling this book. You got to put yourself out there." And I said, "I don't want to hear about it. When I get there, I'll do it, but I don't want to know about it." And then when I got there, I realized I was late to the game, and it's not what I signed on for, but it's what I'm doing part of the time.
I feel the same about the
social media?
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have somebody who's working on it with me. So I mean, it's not all me, but there's just I had to create a website. I mean, there's just been a lot that I'm kind of old, and it's a lot of learning I've had to do in this year. But it's good.
Yeah.
It's good for my brain.
Yeah. You're the first person that said social media is good for the brain.
Well, wait,
I'm already stuff.
well, wait a minute. That could be a whole other conversation because I think people are getting less and less involved in it. It's just insane. It gobbles up time, it wastes time, it does all sorts of things, but you have to do it if you're trying to sell something. Oh, I just
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah. I listened to something recently, a podcast about like how our attention span has gone down by they recorded like they kept track of how many times we switch screens, and that's from like you're on Facebook to Instagram to Twitter to the news to your desktop where you're looking at your email. It's like
Well,
a really
conversation
like
went
it,
out the window, right?
yeah, it's very
It's
fast.
well,
I, I
it's.
might.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just gonna say my attention span is definitely. I can tell that it's not the longest attention span in the world. I can basically I got a credit card. If I can read a credit card all the way through, I'm proud of myself most of the time. But then if I get halfway stopped, I look at something like that's where I'm at.
Well, I had seen a doctor yesterday for something, and he says he has two young kids. They're like the oldest is 7, and well, of course, it's early for social media. Although I tell you, I think my youngest grandchildren can probably do more than I can on social media. But I think that he doesn't even have a TV that the kids can watch. So these children are kind of having the childhood that I had, where you have to learn how to entertain yourself. You have to build your imagination. You have to do so many things that are so positive, I think, that's lost in what's happening today. Anyway, that's a long conversation.
No,
Yeah.
it's good. That's what we're here for. What you about to say, Brandon?
Well, no, just I've been talking because the conversation about kids has come up and stuff with my girlfriend, and just like bringing kids into the world today. Like would I be the kind of dad that would like keep all that from them, or then they would be like, ostracized from the rest of the class? And I'm like, I don't know what I would do. Like,
No, it's a very tough call. It's a very
Yeah.
tough call. And I think those kids go to some kind of a religious school where it's probably easier to do
Mm.
that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not easy, you know, and then you're at war with your kids all the time.
Yeah. I got a cell phone when I was in like seventh grade, I think, but I think like a lot of 4-year-olds I know have their own iPads, and then it's just
Oh,
the
well,
whole.
they do. Are you kidding? I
Yeah, yeah,
it, yeah,
Yeah.
they're very computer savvy. I mean, the little ones when they're like 2 years old, they'll pick up my iPhone and be changing all my wallpaper. I mean, it's pretty. I mean, I never, and I'll see a million videos. You know, I'll turn it off so they can't get onto it, but they can still
hmm
use the camera. So I'll see like,
yeah,
I mean, all these videos. Anyway, that's the way it goes. It's the
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
world we
not going
live in.
nowhere.
My mother used to say something that I think is a very good philosophy, and that is, I'm not saying it's better, and I'm not saying it's worse. It's just different.
hmm
And I
I
do
think
think it's
I think
worse, but
I think it's a little worse. Yeah. Like even for myself, I like block all these social whatever just because I feel so addicted, and then with everything blocked, I'm still just checking the news on my phone all day, and I just
yeah, well,
you know
this is a year to be checking your news.
Yeah,
yeah,
But
it's
that's
a
a
habit.
whole other topic.
correct.
Don't want to
Yeah.
alienate your audience with my
No.
views.
But I did. Let's get back into the book. So the book about a family. Did you base it off of your own personal experience with your family?
No. It's not autobiographical, but
Mm,
like all books, whoever if you wrote this, if you had all the plot ingredients for the book and you wrote it, it would be a different book. As so would it if Phines wrote it. I mean, whoever writes something writes it from their point of view, their experience, their understanding of people, of human nature. So it's different. But um, I mean, there's in a way, the old lady Bette has qualities of my mother and me. You know, stubborn, kind of ferociously independent, tough. I mean, there are I've used by autobiographical elements to it, but no character. It's not by any means my life or my story. It just isn't. It's and I have like 7 different characters who have their own chapters. Well, there's a medium in the book too, which nobody quite knows what she's going to be invited to the dinner party at the end of it for, but that's kind of the cliffhanger. But within each character, they're all very different. They're all like, for example, there's a young guy in it who's Iranian, and since my husband is Iranian, I felt like I could write about him with some sense of authenticity. And also, there were elements of it where I would, check some of the things I'd written about with other people who are Iranian, just to kind of make sure it felt authentic to them. And other characters, I mean, there's something about all the characters that I feel like it's it's kind of close enough to what I know from experience or from other people that makes it feel it. I think they feel real, but it's not. I mean, none of my children have come to me and said, "God, how could you do that to me?"
Good. Um, it took you said your whole life to write, but did you have like so when you started writing, did it just kind of like all fall out, or did you have to
Oh,
like?
did I say that? Did I say it took my whole life to write? Maybe.
Well, no, you
But
said 30. Well, I thought 30 years of being a grandparent before you um wrote a
oh,
book, but
well, I mean, it probably did take my whole life because I don't think I could have really done it before. And there's so much in my life that just kind of I could draw from. But it was the book. I didn't ever think I would write a novel. It wasn't kind of on my agenda. But I started taking some writing class with somebody, a friend, writer friend of mine was teaching, and it was a local class every 2 hours every other week. So I figured, okay, I can I can find 2 hours. And I was just trying to test myself to see if I could write, narrative fiction. And it kind of drew me in. And it's kind of a long story to get there, but it was maybe 8 or 9 years ago that I began that. And then I started creating different characters. And at some point during an annual writing retreat that a bunch of my writer friends and I have, I started to think about piecing these stories together. So it was kind of on the back burner because I was always active with other things that I was doing, so it couldn't be my primary focus. But as I say, COVID rolled along, and
Yeah.
it changed everything. And then it became my absolute sole focus. And I would work on it hours every day. It was not an easy thing to do for me at all. I had a
Wow,
lot.
what kept you into it then? Like, what kept you if it was hard? What like why do you want to get it done if you
Well,
had
that's a
never
good
wanted
reason to
to?
do something if it's hard.
Yeah,
It's a
Right.
challenge, and I felt like I could do it because I can learn fairly quickly. But the people that are in my writing group, they all are published writers, and they all could give me feedback, and I would learn different things from them. And it and it's like I had these people holding me up, like, yeah, you can do it. It's fine. It's good. Keep going. So there was never a point where I thought I'd throw in the towel. It just was hard because it's the fact that I have 7 different people's life stories to kind of weave in and out and figure out how they connect with each other, how they connect. Um, you've got to be learning. It all happens over a course of 24 hours, or more like 18 or 17 hours. The old lady wakes up and something happens and it makes her decide she wants to give a dinner party that night and she's in a wheelchair. She hasn't given a dinner party in years. So she really shakes everybody up, like, what the hell? And and then they find out she's invited a medium to the party, and the plot thickens. And it's a very small group. It's her daughter, her great granddaughter, and she has a night aide because she has a wheelchair. She needs to be assisted, which she hates. She has a housekeeper, and then she has 2 neighbors who are invited. So it's a very small group. But throughout the day, you get to know all of them, their life histories, all things, just through conversations they have in different ways. You get their backstories and the issues they're dealing with. And everybody, of course, they all have to have their own story arc, something they're dealing with that by the end will be resolved. And so that wasn't easy.
No, it seems it's very hard to do 7 different perspectives and
Well,
different ages too. Because I was gonna ask, like, do you think that it's easier to write about younger ages when you're older, and vice versa to the 95-year-old person that you're younger than? Like, do you find like did were you confident about it, or do you think there was gonna be some like,
no, it's a great question you ask because it's one of the things I really worry about, and that is irrelevance. Is my voice too old? Am I able to create dialogue and real characters who are much younger than myself? But I'm around a lot of younger people, and other people will have to tell me if I'm fooling myself. But I feel like I'm able to do it. But it's and I mean, for the old woman, I mean, she's older than I am, obviously, but a lot of it's going back into her history. I had to Google a lot of things that I might not have known about things that went on. And for the younger people, it's a matter of the dialogue. And I would, run it past and ask if they felt that it didn't sound like the voices of young people and stuff. But I get feedback for things like that. But it's something I really think about a lot as to how, I mean, and that's in movie writing too, and it are the things that appeal to me as a story, something that it's like, am I too old to be thinking I should be doing something like this? But anyway, I'm not, and I'm doing it.
no, I feel you. I mean, I feel you as much as I think I can. At least that your inquisitiveness it makes I feel seen. So even if I was reading from something from your perspective, it wouldn't matter. I don't think my age. I think since I'm a pretty like inquisitive person, I would probably feel your character. Or if you're writing from your point of view, I don't know about everyone else's, but I think that's pretty ageless in a sense, personality.
Yeah, well, you have to capture their culture. There's a lot of things you have to capture. And so there was a fair amount of research I had to do as well.
That's
But,
fantastic.
everybody at every age and in every different culture has different ways of talking about things. It's a challenge. It was hard but good.
How young's the youngest character in the book?
The youngest, I think, there's a young Croatian night aide, and she's in her early 20s, and
Mm,
she was on the verge of getting married, and she felt like the guy she was marrying wanted to settle down and have kids right away, and she felt like she hadn't lived her life. So oh, I don't want to tell you what happened in case anybody
oh,
buys the book. But anyway, she kind of took off and came to America, and her visa has run out, so she's in a challenging situation. But she's the youngest.
yeah, that is a really interesting point Finest brings up because I feel like even like my brother's 5 years younger, and like people in their early 20s or around 20, like I can't even speak to them easily. I'm like, I don't
Oh,
every
really? Come
conversation.
on. I'm sure
No,
you
I
can.
mean,
Listen,
no, I can't. Yeah, yeah.
well, I mean,
I don't,
I also do screenwriting. I do some screenwriting private teaching, just kind of, helping develop stories for, and everybody's younger. And I
mhm.
have young grandchildren, and they, we can laugh, and I don't know, maybe I just delude myself, but I I don't feel like, I mean, I have one granddaughter who's in her early 30s,
Mhm.
and I don't know, she talks to me like a peer. I think I do.
That's cool.
I try to have a modern sensibility. I try to find out what's going on.
Yeah.
It's a challenging time. And
Yeah.
and it's this, I mean, the world of, I mean, I've been part of the tech world since 1980 when I had my first computer, and you guys were not even thoughts in the dreams of your parents. Uh, and I've been, it's not like I'm terribly. I mean, we discovered that today. I'm not terribly tech savvy. There, I have challenges, but I'm up. I can pretty much keep up. But AI is a whole different realm, and I feel like it's going to absolutely um, it's really going to impact people as they get older, because if you don't get on board, you that train's going to leave the station, and you're going to be wondering, you're going to be left alone.
Yeah.
It's a very different world right now, with things moving so quickly and so fast, and I am sick to death of having to learn different things.
Mhm.
That's funny. That is yeah. Yeah, you know what? AI hasn't been out that long. Sorry, no, that's it. That is we just like AI art has only been out for like a year for the public to really kind of like chat GPT, and look how fast it's moving. I mean, we're not even in
Unbelievable.
like videos, which would be in no time, and it's just very,
Mhm.
very fast in the scheme of like regular house phone to flip phone, to
Yeah.
like it just seems like things are moving a
Well,
lot. It is very fast.
I use it a little. Like, did you see the cover of my book?
Yes,
Have
I
you?
did.
Yeah. I I had sent to the
Show it
designer,
to me.
on Chat GBT. I had I asked, I said a little synopsis. Older lady uh gives a dinner part. I don't remember how I worded it, but I asked to have different artists what it would look like, and Hockney was one of them. And when I saw the colors that they had, and I mean, I sent this to the design team when they were doing it, because the colors that Hockney, the artist, uses are so um, they're so kind of bold and attention catching. So I mean, I kind of used a little bit of AI in my quest to do that, and but I don't know. I mean, it has a long way to go, I guess. I mean, the whole concept of writers and what's going to happen, and are people going to, is somebody going to, write into their, or excuse me, speak into their computer and say, write a story about an old lady who has all these people in her life, blah blah blah, and spew out a book. Maybe. Are we all going to become irrelevant?
No,
It's a good question. I don't
I
Well,
know.
don't think so. That's
it has a
power of
long
the
way to
beholder.
go. Well, teachers have a challenge with it to know what's been, what's real, what isn't. Actually, I heard a speech recently given by somebody I know who I won't mention, and it was so unlike that person that I knew right away it was AI, and I was right. So, I mean, I think there are giveaways.
Yeah.
If I had it when I was a kid, I would have done so well in school. I would
Maybe
have,
not. Your teachers
yeah,
would have been on to you very quickly.
I would have been a step ahead of them the whole time, I think.
Oh,
That's
okay.
hilarious.
Well, it's too late.
That's funny.
It's
That's
too
funny.
late,
That's too late.
yeah.
That's too late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
The
I
whole,
don't think we're that far away from, like a feature film being AI generated, maybe 5 years, 10 years.
well, I think if you know it is, it'll if they try to tell you it isn't, there'll be one thing. But if you know it is, there'll be a curiosity factor,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I'm sure it
Yeah.
will happen. But who's your audience?
A lot
Everybody.
of a lot of families. We have a huge following in Germany, actually. I don't know why.
Really? In
Yeah,
Germany?
yeah.
That's so funny.
It's interesting, right? It
Well,
happened organically. Yeah.
well, it must have to do with your title, which is interesting. Or maybe the whole family thing.
Hmm.
Do you have
Yeah.
people who buy books? I hope.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure that hopefully it'll increase sales and all that stuff.
I hope.
Listeners, do you read? Tell us.
Say, can you read? Do you
Can
read?
you read? If not, I can read for you. Yeah, I'll read it for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I have Audible. I have an Audible version.
yeah.
Did you
Oh,
do
you might like
the
it. Yeah.
voiceover or
No,
the reading of it? Oh.
no, I'm not that good. I mean, it would be really hard. No, there's a.
I think you have a
I
nice
have.
voice.
Now that you say it, I'm thinking, maybe I should have done it.
So,
Maybe for the next one.
um,
Yeah.
There you go. I will,
or
because
have Chat BT to chat person do it.
Yeah.
Chat bot.
AI.
oh right. Oh,
Whatever AI. They could do it. They could read the book for you. I think it's gonna be like, all right. So every now and then I'll send a letter to somebody. All right. Since I sent you guys a letter, right? The mail,
a
snail mail.
letter.
You guys were like, yeah, I sent a
What's
letter,
that?
right?
Snail mail?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I sent it as a normal, not AI person, and it had great responses. I think that even if we're all like AI'd out and they're making everything, a home video will still be a home video. Like I still think that um, capturing some of those moments, even if like we'll be able to see a movie that's AI generated, the caption of like love and whatever, but there's something special I think about the candidness of stuff with your family, stuff with people that you love, like that. I don't think that AI will ever replace, and I don't know if that has to do with like I don't know if that's economically going to help people. It kind of reminds me like the Luddites with the whole thing with like when the Luddites came. Kind of reminds me of like the what's going on now with people worrying about the jobs being taken because of this new technology.
Yeah. Well, there'll be new jobs and there'll be jobs that'll be lost. But I don't plan to be around for a lot of what's going to happen in the next 50 years, or I don't know how many years. It the world gets more and more. I don't know. There's going to be a backlash. I don't know. I mean, for example, I have in back of me, you can't see it, but when my parents died, I have all their letters. I mean, I have so much history there. I mean, of course, you can also, keep things and stuff on your email and, save texts and whatever. But there's something about the personal histories we had and the way we connected that every once in a while, somebody will write a handwritten thank you letter for something. And it's like I die of shock that people actually do that anymore. There's just so much that's been that's changed. I won't say that's been lost, but it's just very different. But in any event, I
Yeah.
think I hope I hope that I hope that all writers will not be replaced by, I don't know, little little robots writing for them, writing stories.
Yeah. I think there will be, but I think that it would be even more respect for people that put the time and effort into learning how to really are like there'll be so many people doing what Brandon did in high school, and there's so many people doing like cutting corners because that will appreciate someone that actually had some attention span to actually write a letter or to actually. I mean, I'm serious. I think that it's gonna hold quite a bit. It goes like you didn't make that with AI. You didn't even. Wow, who held your camera? Somebody else? Oh no, that's crazy. It might even be a sign of like having money if you're able to hire a crew of people at some point. Maybe like I don't know, 20, 30 years from now, it'd be like this is the first time a movie has been made with a full staff since Star Wars or something.
Well, we have a world ahead of us. In the meantime, I want to know about Grandpa. Does he how, what does he do when he contributes?
He is just another one of the hosts, pretty much. He just he's a very interesting and I would say quirky, unique guy. And it's cool because I mean, even this conversation now, like our perspective versus his perspective as like a 84-year-old, you know,
Oh, oh, so he
guy.
and I
Like,
are peers. So he's,
yeah,
but isn't that nice that you did this with your grandfather? I
it's
mean, that's such a nice
really
idea. He's
it's what you're
obviously very important to you.
about the love letters. Yeah, yeah. It's like, and maybe you feel this way about your book too, is just like having something that feels like a memento that's kind of nice and sacred and stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have to say, I once I really got into writing it, it wasn't really about what's going to happen to it because it's not going to change my life one way or the other. It's
Hmm.
really just about having done it. I
Yeah.
mean, I feel good about that. And, any feedback I get that's positive, I feel even better about it. But it's more than anything else, it was, setting up a challenge for myself and meeting that challenge.
Yeah. Do you feel accomplished and like you can sigh in relief now?
No, I never do that. I never feel accomplished. Number one, I think it's a
Yeah.
female thing to some extent, but I never, I could always take myself apart. My daughter lectured me today, and I'm not allowed to do that anymore. But I'm sure she's not listening, so it doesn't matter. And
Maybe. Well.
I feel
Nope,
like
it does matter. Don't do it.
I have to, when I finish one challenge, I need the next one. I'm not good. If I have free time, I'll start a new. At one point, I was between things, and I created a business of knitted dog sweaters. I was knitting dog sweaters. I called it Warm Dogs. It was a great. I like the name a lot, and I had a great little logo. But that was about the last thing I wanted to do. Get caught up with the rest of my life, making sure I manufacturing dog sweaters. But it was I'm not good with a vacuum. So I'm always busy doing something. So if it's now I'm on to the next, and I have other next things. I have things lined up. My life is
What
multifaceted. It's good. I mean, I always have things I'm doing.
what happens when you sit in that vacuum? It's real scary there, right?
Yeah, then I need the next thing.
Yeah.
I come up with something that isn't really well thought through, and it's what I wind up having to do for a period. Then I get stuck with it.
Mhm.
Then I have to. I've when I was much younger, when my kids were little, and it was when my my four first children, my youngest hadn't been born, but I was almost 30, and I had the women's movement was in full blossom, and I didn't know what the hell how I was going to get myself involved, but I knew I needed to do something. And we had gone to Iran, my husband's country, and I came back and I started an import-export business with somebody. It was the worst thing. I mean, there's things I've done that have not worked out, but that was, oh my God. I bought all these products, and they have beautiful sheepskin products that are embroidered. They're very pretty to look at, but they were like filled with moths. I'm telling you, I felt like my whole house was like, I think we still have moths because of it. I could not, and they smelled. I don't know if you've ever been a place where they tan leather and stuff. Oh my God, the smell of it's just unbelievable.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've done crazy things that I had to then change course. But I don't mind. I don't mind making mistakes. I don't mind failing. Life is. Many people I've heard lately. A few times I've heard people. The biggest lesson on earth is to fail. The question: do you pick yourself up on the ground and figure out what's next, or do you go into the hole and feel sorry for yourself?
Yeah.
So I think I don't mind. I'm not afraid to risk things. And if they succeed, fine. If they don't, that's also okay.
Asking for a friend. When you hit failure and you do give up, has it ever happened to you in your lifelong life of artistry, or has it just been like
Well, I've
picking it
done.
up and going?
I don't think so. I mean, I just regroup. I mean, listen. I feel like having had 5 kids when I was so young. If I can't regroup, God help me, because there's always things happening in life. If I wasn't, if I couldn't adapt to changes, I would be a very unhappy person. But
Mm.
there's nothing I've done that I don't look back. I don't take it. I learn, everything's a learning curve. But that's also a personality factor. Some people, it's not that easy to say somebody should or should not be able to pick themselves up. Not everybody can,
Do you think you
unfortunately.
were born that way, like with that innate personality?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Um, I think.
That's
I mean, my parents. Oh, here comes my cat. My parents were
Mm.
like the opposite of helicopter parents.
Mm.
Honestly, we were really on our own a lot, and I really am grateful for that. I mean, I learned to be very independent. I don't know I'm not sure how I'm equating that with um, what we were talking about, but I feel like it's all right. Come on, you want to come up? No. Um,
Oh,
Here we go. Okay, we got company. Say
what's your
hello.
cat's name? Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh,
little
I
tiger.
yeah. I feel like the people we have a lot we are born with that gives us the ability to be sports in life and to deal with things. I mean, obviously it's environment too, but I also think it's an inborn thing. It's a, Anyway. That's just my thoughts on the subject. But I've gone to
Yeah.
different things. I mean, I've been a family therapist. I did divorce mediation. I mean, I've done a lot of different things, and I got something out of all of it. And I don't. As I say, I don't tend to look back. I just try to make what I'm doing work for myself, and if it isn't, then I find another way.
Yeah.
Your grandkids must come to you for advice all the time. You seem like you have a lot of wisdom.
Well, I don't know if I have that, but I love to give it.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband used to say when I stopped being a therapist, everything's going to have to be directed to him. God help him. Um, well, I mean, I tend, I not if they ask me for advice, I give it, and if they don't ask me, I may give it. But I don't give advice expecting people to listen. I
Mm.
just, I'll say, let me just say what I want to say, or do you mind if I say what I want to say? And they don't. I mean, I just need to say it. They don't have to listen.
Yeah.
But I have I hope I have a good relationship with all the kids. I mean, I work at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, children get older, kids get older as you are, and it's up to us to reach out to them. It's not, you know, they're a lot less interested in the old people.
Yeah,
So
my
I'm you what?
my grandma gets on me. You didn't call me back. What are you doing?
Oh, well, I like to
Pretty
guilt them a little too. I mean,
Oh,
I do a little of that, but I don't. I mean, I do, but I try not to. But you know, like when the kids were in college or something, I would go visit them, go to their campus to see where they lived. I mean, I want to know what their lives are, and sometimes they'll shut me out, and mostly they don't.
yeah, nice. My grandpa says it's much easier too because he can leave. Like when we were growing up, he's like, "Oh, I can see the grandkids and then go," you know.
Yeah, it's pretty darn. I remember when my oldest had children, and I would go to her apartment and see the kids. And if they started acting up, I'd say, "Guys, you can be as bratty as you want. I don't have to deal with it," and I would leave. I mean, I've dealt enough with. I mean, in the of my 5 children, the top and bottom are girls, and the middle 3 were boys. I've had enough
Well,
fighting to deal with in a lifetime.
I can imagine.
So
Yeah,
I don't love that.
yeah. I'm one of 3. It was complete chaos. I mean,
Well, our house is still chaos. On Sundays, I have like whoever wants to come comes, and sometimes it'll be 4 people, and sometimes it'll be 25. And
oh,
so all my grandchildren, they've gotten to know each other, and they're all. I mean, it's great. It's really fun, and it's crazy. It's really, I mean, a lot goes on in our household between dog, and they bring their dogs. Okay, so one dog may not like the other, and one may have to be. I mean, it's fun. We have a fun household, even if it is a little crazy. And if anybody can't take it, they don't belong here.
how many grandkids do you have?
I have 15.
15. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah,
It is pretty neat.
I'm very lucky. Say that again.
I just said it is pretty neat. This
It is.
like, you know,
It's a
one
goal,
person makes a
right?
bunch of it. Yeah.
Grandchildren. I say you have to have kids to have grandchildren. That's the trouble.
Yeah,
I
that's
do.
right.
My
That's the
kids are
problem.
listening. I was kidding. But we've always had a busy household, and I think it's good.
Have your kids and grandkids read the book?
Well, some of them have.
Your
I
favorite
think
ones have.
I know. Well, I'm not gonna. I mean, some of them have. My all my kids have. I'm almost positive. I have to think about that. I
Yeah.
don't know if all of their spouses have. Of my grandchildren, some have. I mean, I have a grandchild who's about to be 18, and she said to me frankly, "No, I couldn't finish it."
Oh my gosh.
But I think that's funny. I don't mind. It's
Yeah.
listen. I don't mind. I
Yeah.
really don't.
How many pages is this?
I didn't ask her how far she got, but she's
No, no.
very.
How many pages is the book?
Oh, well, 290. Don't let that put you off.
No, 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 no. Just seeing, you know, sometimes it's good to get yourself gamed up for it. You know.
Well, I mean, if you know of how thick it is, if I don't know, if you read on an ebook, you don't really know how you can know how many pages it's going to be and what percentage you've gone to, but it's different from holding a book and see. I'll show you again. It's about an inch. That's all. It's
Yeah.
not too overwhelming. The
I
font
love
is.
Seven different people's perspectives in that many pages is actually really nice if you think about it.
Well, thank you, Finest.
Very-
I hope that people will read it and enjoy it. I was published through a hybrid publisher, which is do you need to know the difference, or would that be helpful to
Yeah,
say something about it?
I don't know what a hybrid. I would like to know.
Well, generally speaking, when you write a book and you feel like it's going to get published by a regular publisher, you first have to get an agent who's going to like it. That can take a long time until you get the right agent. Then the agent may want you to make changes. That can also take quite a long time. Then when you've made those changes, the agent may want you to, and they may hire a developmental editor to work with you, which I, by the way, did before I thought it was finished. They will be then when they feel like they've got a copy their agent is pleased with, they got to then find a publisher, which may or may not happen and may also take a long time. And then if a publisher signs it, I mean, some people takes 2-3 years before it actually comes out. So it's a very, very long process. And I figured at my age, I don't want to wait that long. It's, I want to see it. I also felt like I mean, I know, and I shouldn't generalize because I haven't experienced it personally, but I believe that the more traditional publishers, you don't have as much control over the content because they're going to want it to be the way they like it. They may have you once you've been through one developmental editor to get it to the publisher may want you to do it again. They may want you to totally revise it. And you also don't have necessarily control over your title or your cover. And I felt like I was particularly having been in theater where you have posters that help to sell your show. I mean, I believe it's having the right title and the right cover is your first, it's like your first impression. And they also, the hybrid publishers are different from, like, if you go to Amazon, I don't know, whether it's Kindle, how I don't know the right terminology, but you can give them your material and they can publish it. I just got a book that was done like that. Somebody did. And they'll just publish whatever it is so that there's no control, quality control or anything. They just do it. When you work with a hybrid publisher, they're quite selective. They told me, my publisher, they only take 15% of the things that are submitted. And then they'll work with you on it. If they think it needs changes, they'll have you make changes. They really work with you all along the way. So it's to me, that was a much it was a process that made more sense to me for different reasons. But what I don't get out of that is having a publisher who's going to be trying to market it, all over. And I also, you can't get reviews from the Times. I mean, it's a step down from the type of legitimacy you have with a book that's published by Little Brown or something like that. So they do a lot for you in terms of marketing your book that I've had to do for myself. But whatever. I think I don't regret the course that I took because I could still be waiting to get an agent. And that took me from when I hired the hybrid publisher that I use, Greenleaf Book Group. That was in February. I signed a contract, and in September I had my book out. So that was very fast.
So what date exactly did you publish the book? Can you say that again?
It was September 12th, 23.
23. Oh, so fairly recently, yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's recent. Yeah, and it was the Audible version didn't come out until November for frustrating reasons. But yeah, I mean, it's a very streamlined process doing it that way.
Yeah, do you follow the numbers and the sales and all
that? I don't want to, but I do.
Yeah, can't help yourself, right?
Well, it's hard. I look at I don't read all the reviews, but it's and I've had pretty good reviews. I mean, I'm like 4.3 right now on Amazon with I don't know how many, about 70 reviews, which is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I follow stars and I try not to. I'm not obsessed about it, but well, maybe I am.
You get a little curious, right? You're like, all right,
yeah,
maybe,
of course.
Maybe I want to, yeah.
Yeah.
That look would look like I'm not that obsessed.
I'm not that obsessed.
Yeah. We only have about a minute left. What do you want to say to the listeners, just briefly, about the book to get them to listen?
Well, first I'll give them my website, which is my name, Jennifer Manocherian. Will it be somewhere they can see it? Or do I have to spell it?
Show notes. Yeah, you don't.
JenniferManocherian.net, all lowercase. And
Spell it for our listeners.
what's that?
Spell it for our listeners because we have
Oh,
some people that just listen to the podcast.
JenniferManocherian.net. And it has information about the book. It has different reviews. It has different podcasts I've done. It has other things I've done. But what do I want to say about the book? I mean, it's a family saga. It's about grief. It's about connections people make. I mean, my reviews are more articulate than I am at the moment, but it's it's been a long day. But it's if you care about families, I think it's got a poignancy to it. It's about loss and how you deal with loss. It's about anticipatory loss. It's about making. I don't know. I'm really. I should be prepared for that question, and I'm not very good at it because it's weird how inarticulate I can be when I'm talking about my own book.
Yeah.
But
I can jump in. Just read the damn thing.
There you go, and then you'll find out. Hopefully, most people really like it, and it's and I think that it's if you're somebody who likes fiction and you like books with multiple points of view, I think that makes it more interesting for many people that they get kind of a little picture, a little taste of all different cultures and all different people and how they all blend together. And I don't know. I think it's a good read. Read it.
I'm certainly going to.
You
we
are?
always do.
Are you really going to?
I will read it. I will.
How do I
I'll
know?
give you more. I gotta buy a copy right now. I'll do it. I'll email you. I'll let you know what I think.
I would love to know that. Seriously, if you read it, I'd love to know that. And if you like it, review it and give it stars. And if you don't like it, you didn't read it.
No. Still give it 5 stars. We always do last thoughts in the show. I'll pop it over to Phines for him to give his last thought, and then we'll just each say a little something, and that's that, pretty much.
My last thought. Yeah, I think that at least me personally, from your personality, makes me want to read the book more than anything that you could say. So, you did a really good job in that sense. Because at first I was like, I ain't reading this book, but now after talking to you, I do feel like I want to read it, not just because your grandma guilted me or anything like that. It's really it's good. I really think I really appreciate you, and I think that I'm walking away from here, even though you didn't say these exact words. I feel like you take things objectively as a grandmother, as an artist, and as a person. And you like are very. I don't know if it took time or if this is how you've been your whole life, but it really just like I'm Jennifer. This is me, and I appreciate it, and I think that's very useful.
Thank you. That's so sweet. I really appreciate that. But I'm going to give you the first sentence of the book, and then you can make a decision if you want to read it. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Bette was smoking by her bowels.
All right, I'm out. I'm good.
You're out?
Nah, I love
I just lost one reader.
That's funny. He was like, I want to read this book.
I take back everything I said.
Well, if either one of you reads it, do write to me and tell me.
Yeah, I'll email you.
But yeah, email me. That would be nice. But I appreciate your sweet thoughts.
Yeah.
I hope I'm authentic as a human being. I'm not very good with BS. I have a pretty good radar.
Yeah. I think that's my last thought. I'll just say is that's like one of my favorite parts of this kind of thing is I like just the show is so informal, and so I think we would be terrible like interviewers, but getting to just hang out and talk, I feel like I really get to know somebody's art or product or whatever it is, just sort of getting to know them. And that it's been really lovely getting to know you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Very nice.
I wish we got to meet. I wish I got to meet Grandpa.
I know. Next time. I was really hoping he'd come, but
Well, maybe you'll invite me back for my movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be cool.
Yeah. And I'm in New York, so let me know if y'all have a showing or something. I can come.
Well. Oh, you're in New York too?
Mm-hmm.
Freezing to death?
Queens. Oh
Wait a
yeah,
minute.
I'm dying.
What's the temperature now? It's insane. Well, we're hoping to get into the Tribeca Film Festival. We'll see.
Wow.
In the meantime, we're submitting, so she'll see. But it may not be out for another. It's another one of these things that takes forever. Anyway, thank you guys. You were so nice, and it was fun. I like hanging out.
This was lovely. Oh, Sierra said, thank you for coming on, Jennifer, and thank you for bearing with us through our tech adventures.
Well, sorry for my iPad. I have an aversion to laptops.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't know. It's really terrible, but I just do. And my PC is challenged with the camera.
Yeah.
So thank you for being patient.
I mean, Grandpa, it takes at least 15 to 30 every week to get him on. So you were super quick and easy.
Well, it wasn't all on me.
No, not all. I want to say thank you again to Sierra. Thank you, as always, to Grandpa. Thank you, Phines. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. Sierra just sent me a nice note, which was sweet.
Oh,
thank you.
Oh, yeah, we love you guys. We'll see you next month. Happy listening.
All right. Well, happy whatever. And thank you for having me. And I hope to your readers, go buy a book.
Yeah, buy a book.
You won't find it in a bookstore. You'll find it online.
Cool.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you again.
Podcasting with Grandpa Bart and Rosie, always on his shoulder. This is Grandpa and Chill.
Grandpa and Chill is brought to you by your hosts, Brandon Fox, Bart Frank, and Phines Jackson. Our producer is Sierra Doss. To watch and listen to full episodes of the show and follow us on social media, visit grandpaandchill.com. That's grandpaandchill.com.